So I figured what better way to conclude this video than making an old Cylinoid. So, we'll start off by clicking on the hops button. Everything's up to date. We'll click on the about button, current version. We're good to go. So we'll press X, delete everything. In case you're ever wondering what add-ons you're running, you can shift click the about button and it'll display your add-ons. So that way you can actually display what add-ons you have with Pride. So we'll shift A, add a plane, and we'll press Alt X, and I'll press D and switch over to bisect, and we'll just click on the X handle to just delete half of this. It keeps half of it. Strange thing for a mirror to do, but it's just a thing. So we'll control click mark, and we'll just add a bevel here, and just roll in some segments. And in object mode, we'll just press Control tilde, go in our helper, and bring up the bevel helper. So if you're using the latest version of hardops, it should also have support for the custom bevel profile in the helper itself, something that I forgot to check for, but we did catch at the last moment, so that should be covered in this latest update. So we'll just create an interesting little custom bevel profile. Nothing serious, just a almost like a city skyline in a way. And then with these things, I also like to, play with the front angles and just give it something interesting to play off of. And we'll create a few peaks here. Maybe we can get a point in here, bring it back down, unlike in previous parts of this demo. Like, dealing with this thing can be a little crazy. I'm actually wanting a ability to mess with profiles on screen, like in the viewport. I think would be really cool, like if it was on screen and you could really precisely mess with these dots and level them out and select them and things like that. Maybe a dot edit system, I don't know. Man can dream. So, messing with our segments, we can see that we actually get more of our angle in here. So it's important to make sure to have enough segments in order to get this to show up correctly. But now we can actually take this shape, and using add modifier, we'll just add a screw, and we see this blue, da-ba-dee-da-ba-da, meaning it's good. And if we press Alt W, we can switch over to hops tool from box cutter, vice versa. And with this bevel dot that shows up whenever I hold control, we can just drag this dot. We can see this actually adjusting this bevel. We could drag it into nothing, or we could drag it out to be very much something. So, maybe something like that is actually a good point. I won't be needing to adjust that dot anymore, so I'll press Alt W, jump back over to box cutter, and we see that the majority of the work for this is done. So I just wanted to end this video just doing a quick little Cylinoid just to kind of inspire you guys. A lot has definitely changed and been added in this version. However, I do want to do more content actually showing how this stuff is intended to be used, instead of just doing this update content all the time. In fact, I didn't even mean to do a video about every aspect of this update. However, there were so many exciting things happening over the course of these latest updates that it was worth doing video content on. So I'm glad to see that people have been enjoying this latest hops. Sometimes I see people out there enjoying hops to the point of fury, which I guess is also a thing. But yeah, I'm glad to see that everyone's enjoying it. We definitely want to make it something that would improve everyone's workflow. At this point, I wanted to mirror to the other side, but I'm under bisect, which I don't want, so I'll press X to reset it. And we'll just set that back to modifier, and we'll just look at this from the top and perform a cut starting off the mesh. We'll bring that down, and it's already mirrored to the other side, so we're good to go. We'll just bring down an N-gon and just draw our shape. And you might notice that for me, I actually have N-gon perma-snap on, which is what I call angle lock, which basically makes it where I don't have to hold control in order to get it to snap automatically where I'm using N-gon. It allows me to basically draw it at an angle always, but if I do need to unlock it for any reason, I'm able to do that under control. So as of the latest update, that has now been added in, which is something I've been wanting for the longest. It now means that I'm able to stay inside of N-gon a lot longer without having to escape for various reasons. So just looking at this from the side, we're just continuing our cut in this little monstrosity we've created just ever so quickly, might I add. You know, it doesn't get any quicker than this. So let's roll back our bowl shapes and look for a very particular bowl shape. Looks like that's not a bowl shape. It looks like that is part of our bevel profile. So we'll just have to continue. So what I was thinking was that we could draw a circle and cut it out in a big way. And we can see it getting a little bit slow with having to evaluate so many heavy modifiers at once. Modifiers. Alright, so here we are. We've cut a nice little intake. And so the next thing I want to do is, of course, do a split. Right now I have a little bit of shading being sacrificed. And so to really rectify that in the meantime, I can actually shorten it by just kind of mitigating it with a slice cut to just kind of break that shading from happening any further into the mesh. At this point, I can also think about mirroring it. If I press Alt X, I can just mirror this over to the other side, but this isn't actually the shape I want. It's way too short. It's not the typical size of a Cylinoid. So what I'll want to do is actually press Alt X and we'll mirror it to the other side, but instead of mirroring it like you're seeing there, we'll press Alt X, we'll press A to do a new modifier, we'll mirror it to the other side, and under Add Modifier, we'll add a Displace. And you can see that this displace is sitting below two mirrors. So if I hold shift and I scroll once, you can see that now the displace is between them both. And with this axis, it's not gonna go the way we want, but if we press X, we can actually change the axis. And now we're actually pushing this out on the mirror. So it's really just a little bit of modifier magic. I saw someone asking about this in the Blender group, and I just wanted to actually address that in a video just to help answer that question. So continuing on with our mesh, we'll just press D. And in this case, if I draw this shape and I convert it to a make box, it's going to be poorly oriented due to me actually starting on the normal of the mesh. So we'll select the View Align button and we'll just draw a box, press A, press E again, and we'll just bring this box in, click to apply, and everything's so far so good. We can just select this top piece and just control click mark in order to just scale that down. I'll press 1 to set the profile to 0.5, which I never have my default set to, but I always tend to jump to in certain cases. And we'll just select both of these meshes and press Q and Union. And we'll just mirror this mesh to the other side using the same modifier as before. So when it comes to the mirror, you can actually choose which mirror you're modifying with this at the top, but I don't feel that this is entirely indicative, so I will be doing something about that in the future. But just know that you can just mirror this to the other side, and now we're actually back where we started with our mesh. We can actually mirror it as well on the Z. We have a perfectly symmetrized model. In fact, this edge on the inside, if we wanted to truly fix that, all we have to do is delete this single edge from the main mesh. But if we press Alt V and look at the face orientation, we can see that our face orientation got a little bit random. So sometimes I don't delete that edge just to, experiment with it. But I can tell you that whenever you delete it, you have to go under screw and you have to press C to calculate, and then you're good to go again. But otherwise, if I would have just left it, I would have had normal orientation issues and possibly cut errors down the road and wouldn't have known why, and it just would have been problematic. So sometimes it's good to just deal with that stuff in advance if you know it's going to happen. So we're just performing some cuts here. This Cylinoid's almost done. And I still hold control because I've been so used to Ngon not actually working the way it's supposed to for the longest that I just have gotten used to it. But now Ngon is actually as great as it always was supposed to be. So we see that I'm trying to draw a box, but the orientation is just not right. So this is where line box comes in, and we can just view align, and we already have angle snap on, so there's no need to hold control, and we're back in action. So anytime you're having alignment issues, of course you should be aware of your settings, because in this case it was something with view align. But anytime that you need to just override that orientation real quick in the form of a box, line box is there for you. And then of course is the classic tip for, if you're in line box, you can press W to use a wedge if you're the type of guy to want to cut wedges into things. But with that, we are pretty much done with our Cylinoid. I mean, I just wanted to do a quick example to demonstrate it in action. We still have this strange edge down the middle, but I can guarantee it won't show up in the render. And really, I'm curious in why it's happening. So let's take a look at our circle. You know, we never talked about our circle. And I'm just rolling, and I'm just not gonna find it. So let's just jump over to the cutters collection and let's just grab it. And that one is that circle. What is this circle? You know what, something like that will actually work for this. So let's actually look at this in top view. We'll press D. And we don't want to actually draw a line box. I do want a hotkey to eventually remove line box as a state. And we're just going to just go down slicing this. Just real basic. It's a circular shape. Straight slices will do it. Of course, we could put some angles in there, really make our day interesting. But that really depends on how long I want to make this video. So we will do one more separation here. And interesting result so far, except we have this light in this camera here. We don't need that where we're going. So now we can select everything, have an active selection, and pressing Alt M, we could just control click through blank material scroll to give it some blank materials. And so I want to show you another trick that I use all the time, and that is radial array with 3D cursor for rotation. So we'll just draw an n-gon shape here, and we'll just double click it while holding shift in order to keep it live. So we have our live shape, we have our 3D cursor at the center because I never moved it. We'll press Q, and under mesh tools we'll control click radial 360 to just roll this around, and we just instantly was able to just set ourselves up. And this is something that I just find myself doing all the time. I just can't get enough of it. We'll do it again right here, just do a random cut, and we'll cut that in. Except we don't want this to go across the entire form. Maybe something like that. Maybe even grab this face, bring it in on the y-axis. And now that we have that, we don't even have to be looking at it at a certain view to use radial array. We just control click it and it will just radial array it for us. And we just roll the wheel until we get where we want. And we're already here where we want to go. And the front is just looking just a little bit lonely to me. So I'll select this piece and shift click smart apply in order to smart apply this. And we can just press 3, go into face mode, C, circle select, and we'll just quickly paint a selection around. And press I to inset. And then control I to invert, which gives us just this piece of our clone duplicate. And we'll press 2 on solidify to push it both ways. Select both pieces, Q, difference, and this is our result so far, except we want to bring that back. So we'll bring it back, look at this from front mode, press Alt W, start box cutter, and instead of just jumping into n-gon, we're going to use panel. So that's with us turning on the line at the top for cyclic, but now I'm able to just really cut a few lines in here. And that'll suffice for detailing the front, but that is it. I just wanted to just do a quick test, just kind of showing the old Cylinoid test in action and where it's come. I've done so many videos on the Cylinoid. I want to do many more. It's one of my favorite tool tests. Right after the cube is one of my favorite ways to just kind of pop the knuckles and just play with design. But the next best thing is definitely getting in and playing with the Cylinoid. So let's say we wanted to wrap this video up something proper. Well, looking at it from this view, I can just press Q. I can select something, deselect something, press Q, and we'll just add a camera. That's just one of my favorite ways. You can also go under operations and just add a camera. So now we have our camera down, and we'll just be rotating around this. So if we raise our frames to say 2000, we get something a lot more graceful. And we'll just you know, draw a box around everything, make an active selection, and just bevel it. Maybe not that way. We'll control click bevel to add a new bevel, And so this is of course going to get a little bit heavy, but we're of course beveling all these objects at the same time with various types of bevels, but I got faith in it. At the top, it appears we didn't have enough faith, but that's okay. We'll go under add modifier and we'll choose weighted normal, which will put a weighted normal on every object selected. One of my favorite reasons of having the weighted normal. And we can actually solve these things kind of on an individual level. For example, I'll select this thing and just move it. For this object, we can go under bevel and just kind of lower the bevel amount to get something a little bit more generous on the shape. We could also bring the width in a little bit because some of our cuts are just so shallow, they're not going to work in this upper area. But everything else for the most part worked out fine. This area got a little bit problematic. If we wanted to make it work out with such a large bevel, we'd have to press Alt V, look at our wireframe and actually evaluate the mesh. And it's this edge going right here that just destroys it. So me personally, I would actually press Q and add a decimate. And you see that it doesn't do very much here. But if we collapse all of our modifiers and we place our decimate in the right location, we should get a better result. And there's a ton of mods here, as you can see. We'll just place it here. No, maybe it's up here. Oh, we do gotta place this decimate up high. So we'll just drag it up even more. Is it after the screw? Yeah, there it goes. Once we start raising the angle, we're actually able to catch that area and then it's able to make the cut. So now we were able to get this bevel to work out, except for this area where things just did not work out. So usually at this point, I will spend a little bit of time just kind of babying things where I want. Sometimes I'll go so far as to bring back the initial cutter that hurted the mesh like it did. That appears to be I am thinking there's not a radial going around it. Alright, it is this mesh. So we bring it out and we see that we're able to get a better result for that bevel. However, we did kind of compromise this one. So if we just Alt scroll to lower the angle on that bevel, we can actually get to catch where it's supposed to. And if we jump into rendered view, we actually see what we received. So this object didn't get a good scroll, so we'll re-scroll it, select this one, Alt M, Control click to blank scroll that one. And we'll just scroll it until we get a nice material for it. And looking at this from camera view, we can turn off viewport overlays and just let this just process. And right now, there's not a lot going on, so we'll press Alt VV to just go through and find a nice background for it. You know, nothing that will take the focus away from it, but something that can just show all the shapes and geometry and detail and whatnot. And so for the finale, I will press Alt V and go under blank light, and we'll just scroll a light setup that we find that really kind of illuminates the model just right, hits it hard with some highlights, maybe rotate it just right, give it something suspenseful. And just like that, within 20 minutes, I've made a Cylinoid, just playing with the new profile in Blender, showing you the support that we have for both box cutter and hardops. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.